You're listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network, featuring the bearded wonder Zane Paisley, Sign Guy, Drew Skills, and the Morning Star, William Huckabee.
The Undisputed Wrestling Show starts now. Good Tuesday evening, everybody. This is Sign Guy with you, and I am joined by one of our co-hosts tonight, the incredible Huck, William Huckabee. Huck, how's it going?
Going good, man. Real good. You know what I'm saying? I had a great weekend and stuff. Great weekend of shows, and I'm really looking forward to today's show as usual.
I am as well, and I want to introduce our first hour guest. He is the Cuban assassin, Fidel Sierra. Sir, welcome to the Undisputed Wrestling Show here on Angry Marks Podcast Network.
It's great to be on, brother. It's the legendary Fidel Sierra, the Cuban assassin.
Absolutely it is. I'm up in the Pacific Northwest, so it's doubly legendary up here.
You're not kidding, brother. That's my second home, the Pacific Northwest.
Well, since we're kicking this off, I want to jump right into things. Speaking of the Pacific Northwest, just in the last couple of weeks, we lost Tom Peterson, who was a sponsor of Portland Wrestling for eons and eons. Can you tell us a little bit about what Tom Peterson might have meant to the Don Owens promotion that some of the fans may not realize?
God, you know what? Tom Peterson was Don Owens. It was the heartbeat of Portland Wrestling as far as sponsorship, and he meant so much to Portland Wrestling. Seeing him every Saturday night, and I can remember every time, every character that I wrestled there, from the Destroyer to the Assassin to Top Gun. And Tom Peterson was a first-class act, always great with me, and always treated everybody with such great respect.
A lot of territories did not really have a sponsor that was as visible as Tom Peterson. He was well known in the Pacific Northwest and was always linked to professional wrestling. You were in a lot of different territories. Was there anyone in any other territory that was not actually in the wrestling business that was as significant to a territory as Tom was?
You know what? I've wrestled all over the world, and you know, when I wrestled it for the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico, they had a lot of same sponsors, but there's none of them that I can compare to God bless Tom Peterson as sponsor-wise, and that stood behind Don Owens. And like I said, you know, he was always there for Don. He was like the number one sponsor. Besides, I can't think of the other gentleman. There was a sponsor for years there, who passed away in with those deals that you fly, glide kite deals.
In your career, like we said, you worked a lot of different territories. Did you start out wrestling as a foreign heel like a lot of people did in the territorial days, or did you have a gimmick that starting out wasn't really tied to anything like that?
I had a gimmick where I was really not tied into anything. I was trained by the late Hiro Matsuda, and man, he was one tough son of a gun, and he really trained you the hard old school way. And then in 1978, I went to Dallas, Texas for the Von Erichs, but I was sent there by the late King Curtis and The Rock's father, Rocky Johnson. And that's basically, I wrestled there as David Patterson, and that was the name they gave me, David Patterson. And I can remember Kelly Blanchard's father saying, why would they use the name Patterson instead of Sierra when, you know, you speak Spanish? And I said, that's the name they gave me when I got here, you know. So really, I basically was generic David Patterson. Went to the Carolinas as David Patterson, and then down the road became all these other characters, from Fidel Sierra to Fidel Sierra, the Cuban assassin, to the Destroyer, to the Saint, to so many characters. It's just, the list goes on and on. The Barrio Brothers, the Ricky Santana. Man, the wrestling has been great to me for over 35 years.
You were in Portland wrestling in the era when a lot of the territories had already gone away and the national companies were taking over. The Grappler and Roddy Piper were helping keep things afloat, and they fought a few more years for Portland wrestling. What was it like in that era, knowing that there weren't really too many full-time territories left that were territories like we had known them in the 70s and 80s? And did you have a sense that the Grappler and Piper were buying time, or did you think that they were going to maybe turn it around and keep things afloat for longer than they even did?
Well, see, for a long time, I helped. I was one of the guys helping. God bless Roddy Piper and the Grappler, and I helped behind the scenes a lot. Nobody knew that. I did it with Buddy Rose, God bless. I did it with Rip the Crippler Oliver. I mean, we sort of it was like a booking committee, what you would call these days, but nobody knew that because we would just feed off of each other. But yeah, Roddy and the Grappler at the end, I knew, I could see it coming. You could see what was happening, and I knew that I always had Puerto Rico I could go to because Carlos Colon was always a first class guy with me. Despite of all that bad stuff, that, I don't even want to bring that up right now, but he always treated me first class, and I knew that I could get booked there. But Don Owens, God bless, he always gave me, Don Owens always was such a great promoter that he always gave me that open door policy. He said, I don't care where you're at. If something happens, something goes wrong, you call me and you'll start within 2 weeks here. And a few times I called him and he brought me right in.
You mentioned Puerto Rico, and of course, that's where Bruiser Brody passed away, and there was a bit of a fear from a lot of the American wrestlers shortly after that about going down to Puerto Rico. Did you have any fears yourself about working down there ever, or was that something that was disconnected from you?
You know what? When that happened, it was sad because I was very close to Bruiser Brody. If I was wrestling in Atlanta for the NWA for WCW or Ted Turner, Brody would stay with me, and at that time I was in Japan wrestling when that happened. Down, I would say a couple years after that, I did go wrestle in Puerto Rico, and there was a lot of guys, and I had my run-ins with the Invader and Jose Gonzalez, and there was a couple of times where I thought things were going to go down the wrong path between me and him, but I guess I never was scared of him by no means. Still ain't, but what happened there was a very, very sad, and everybody has their different stories. I always say the bottom line is two guys went into a shower room. One guy came out alive, and the other guy didn't. Doesn't take rocket science to think, it's sad, It took me a lot when I would see Invader, but we had a lot of big feuds after that led to a lot of stuff, from Fantasy managing me in there in Puerto Rico and him snatching her by the hair one time out of nowhere, and we got into a little shoot, as you call in this business, and it got pretty heavy where Carlos, Ricky Santana, and a bunch of people had to come from the other side and had him in a front face lock, and they knew that something bad could have happened then, but it didn't, thank God. Yeah, that's just sad, that whole situation. I see Bruiser Brody's wife at the CAC every year. I love her. She's so sweet. And it's a hard thing, you know. But a lot of people blamed Carlos Colon for that. And I think that part, I can't blame Carlos Colon. I think that's just something that happened between those two. They had a lot of hatred for each other. But Bruiser Brody, God bless him, man. If he liked you, you were great, man. If he didn't like you in that ring, he'd put your ass through the test.
Now, you work with a lot of really brilliant minds in your career. You mentioned several of them. Curtis Hayakea, the Grappler, Roddy Piper, the Von Erichs down in Texas. They all had great minds for the business. In your opinion, who do you think had the most brilliant mind when it came to the professional wrestling business?
Wow. The one of the most brilliant mind was, I have to go with Eddie Graham, Mike Graham's father. As far as, you know, and that's Dusty Rhodes, God bless, he learned a lot from him, and there's so many guys, but Eddie Graham was, he was one of the smartest guys in our business. I don't think anybody had the mind of the way Eddie Graham could make you. You could be on the first match and, you could be, putting somebody over and, you would feel like Eddie Graham will lay out the match for you and you felt like you were winning the world title. That's how good he was, you know, but he had a great mind and you know, he taught people like Bill Watts and people like Dory Funk Sr. They all learned so much from each other because back then there was so many great minds in our business back then. And I'm not saying that there ain't these days, but everything is different these days, you know. WWE, you know, it's all the way they do their stuff is their own way. That's the way they want to do it. I don't knock it. I watch it here and there. I feel like the people say, well, why do you watch WWE or whatever? I watch it because I like to keep up with wrestling. I like to keep up with what's going on. And, you know, and there's a lot of promotions going on out there, you know. I was part of the Paragon Pro Wrestling for a great while, and I really liked them, you know. And, you know, which is, I think, a part of it has to do with that West Coast wrestling connection too, you know. And I gotta thank them. They gave me a job for a little over a year and a half, and I appreciated it, and I busted my butt for them, and you know, wish I was still with them.
Speaking about WCWC. Since you were affiliated with them for a while, who are some of the younger talents that you saw there in Portland and Salem that you think might be the next breakout stars in the business?
Wow. When I was there, when I came down there, I seen like people like Hammerstone and they were there in Portland. Mikey O'Shea, and there's a handful of guys there that I think are great talent, and they got a lot of guys that are learning. You know, that's the whole key to this business is people are not being taught the right way anymore, and nobody gives a shit. I do give a shit. You know why? Because you know what? I put my ass out there for over 35 years. I busted my ass in this wrestling business. And there's guys out there teaching guys how to wrestle that don't know how to fucking lace their boots up, and that's a fucking shame. That's got me going a little bit, bro.
Well, at this time, I want to pass things to my co-host, the incredible Huck, William Huckabee.
How you doing today, Chief? First of all, thank you for being a guest on the show. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, boss. I love it.
All right. Now, my first question, I got to get this question out the way. Not only as a interviewer and a podcast host, but as a wrestling fan. 60 minutes with Ric Flair. What is the mind state for a guy when you know that you're going 60 minutes with Ric Flair?
So I went 60 minutes with Ric Flair right there in Portland, Oregon, with a mask on, and that was hell. And a few other places in Puerto Rico, I did a 60-minute draw with him. But man, when you know you're going to go 60 minutes, that's when all the shit starts building up inside of you. I mean, I don't care how long you've been in the business, the butterflies still build up. If you ain't nervous, and I hate when guys say, oh man, I'm not no nervous no more when I go out there or whatever, and I know it all already, and that's a bunch of bullshit. I was always taught by some great old timers, the day you think you know everything about wrestling is the day your ass needs to get out of it. But Ric Flair, I would divide up. Back then, if you were going an hour draw, I myself would look at it with Ric Flair as 4 15-minute matches. And that's the way we would work the match. Like it was going to be a 15 minutes and 15 and 15 till, but Ric, man, he would, Ric Flair, he'd love to chop you and he'd take you to the limits. And, I remember in Portland, Oregon, right there, my chest was bleeding at the end of the match, but so was his. And the people got one hell of a match. And, I loved it whenever I worked with Ric Flair, and it's just, great whenever, I wrestled Kurt Hennig when he was AWA World Champion, and I did some sell-offs, God bless it, Kurt Hennig in Portland, Oregon. And, that's what was one of my best brothers, in this business.
Now, my next question is this and stuff, because you went by the name the Cuban Assassin, for a long time, and especially during the end of your career and stuff. And of course, we all know that there was the original Cuban Assassin and stuff, and I've done my research. Of course, you got permission to go under the moniker the Cuban Assassin as long as you didn't do it in Japan. Did you ever get any backlash from his son that I personally know goes by the name of Cuban Assassin? I don't know. Are y'all friends?
Well, yeah, you know what? At first, his son, I love his son. I call him my brother from another mother now. But, at first, he didn't know. You see, our deal, we were in Calgary together, and we were going to go to Japan and as the Cuban Assassins. So I got all my stuff. We took pictures together, and then it didn't work out. And then he told me at that time, which his son never knew this, he said, and now he knows it because I've told him, and I guess he asked his father, but he told me, hey, I'm not going to ever wrestle in Florida and some of these other places. And if you want to use the name, you can. And that's what I did. But I always did Fidel Sierra, the Cuban Assassin. I tried not to just use the Cuban Assassin. But, Angel, the original Cuban Assassin, wow, what a great man, what a great wrestler. His son is great. Richie, that's his son's name is Richie. And, I personally I think at one point he was a little upset that I was using that name. But I think once he found out from his father that he sort of gave me the okay, then I think it all, the respect, cause I would never use somebody else's character name. I hated it when I went to Portland and I was on the way and I stopped to do some shows in Dallas, and I don't mean to go off track, and Don Owens tells me, do you got a mask? And I said, I can get one. He said, good, because you're going to be the destroyer when you get here. And I said, but there's already Dick Byers, the destroyer, and this guy or that guy. He said, I don't care. This is my territory, and you're going to be the destroyer. And then the same thing happened when he made me the assassin. It wasn't my choosing. That's what Don Owens wanted. And, and I knew Jody Hamilton. He was the original assassin. So I was like, man, I'm going to get heat with these guys. But, they all knew whenever I seen them, I told them, I said, hey, yep, I used that name, but it was Don Owens that gave it to me, and that's the way it was.
Now, I love the fact that you said that you still watch, wrestling to this day and stuff. Because you're a wrestling fan, you like to keep up with the current product and stuff. But what is your opinion about the current product and the current wrestling scene, I guess you could say, where it's evolved to a more athletic, faster-paced style, which emphasizes more athletics and less on actually selling the moves and the holds?
Man, you know what? Our business has taken such a flip side. You know, Vince's show is more entertainment and all that, and I understand that. And I don't, you know, right now I just see I'm watching TV, I'm watching wrestling right now. It's on, and I'm not, you know, I'm just looking at it. I've seen Randy Orton a little while ago, whatever. But Vince did, you know, Vince made it what he did. And, you know, do I agree 100% with it? No. Do I take some of these guys? I look at it as, you know, you ever heard of cookie cutter homes?
Yes,
you know, where all these homes look alike?
Yes.
Well, so that's what I look at. Sometimes you look at some of these WWE guys, and I'm not knocking them because they're not that they don't have talent. There's a lot of them are wearing almost the same thing, whatever. They don't have the right character. And it's almost like I'm watching that if you've seen them at home, the day of you see, like, if you knew when there was a Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you've seen him anywhere, you knew that was Stone Cold Steve Austin. That character was so, you know what I mean? You knew The Rock was The Rock because that character was so out there. And, you know, and Hulk Hogan and all these people. And nowadays you got some of these characters that if you seen them at an airport, you wouldn't know, and they're getting pushed on TV. And I'm not, you know, again, I'm not trying to knock them. It's just, I think that label of, trying to build the character more out there is missing in our business a lot. You know, and then, you know, now all these guys, I'm going to tell you, I know CM Punk. He used to wrestle before he was ever CM Punk. He wrestled for IPW here in Florida, which was IPW Hardcore Wrestling, and I had respect for him back then. And now him and certain guys, because they're going to go do these ultimate fighting or whatever, and now they're calling all wrestling, you know, a bunch of pussies and the other guy and all that. You know what? They can bite me because they never busted their ass 7 days a week, traveled 4,000 miles a week, and did the shit that I did or a lot of the old timers did. And for them to knock our business now, who in the fuck do you think you are? For CM Punk, the other guy, they can blow me because they're really, you know what I mean? Vince made him a millionaire. Yeah, he made Vince money, but guess what? You would have never had it if it wasn't for Vince McMahon gave you that break.
Now you're speaking about traveling the road and everything that you had to do when you were in the business and stuff. And of course, you know, like Sign Guy told you, I'm a professional wrestler, indie wrestler down here in North Carolina and stuff. Longest road trip, longest amount of time driven in one day for a show.
The longest I've driven?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. I don't know, because I wrestled Calgary and we would leave to, we would end up somewhere in Montana, and we would drive after the show in Montana. I don't know if it was whatever, back to Calgary. We would get back at 11 or 12 in the afternoon, 11 in the morning or 12 or 12. And then we'd have to be there to do the, Stampede Wrestling for the taping that night. And man, that would have to be one of my longest trips. And, you know, like I said, when I was in the Carolinas for the Crockett's, they had an A team, B crew, C crew. And if you were stuck in that C crew, I guarantee you were going to do 35 to 3,800 miles a week.
Jesus, that's a lot of driving. When you're on the road and, you know, you're driving 8, 10, 12 hours, in a night, I've got to ask you, you got any tips for somebody like me to stay awake? Because usually myself, I just get those old school Atomic Fireball candies, and I just pop those in my mouth whenever I start getting tired. You got any tips or any tricks and stuff you used to do back in the day?
Back in the day, bro, they didn't have Red Bull, and shit. Back in the day, I'll be honest, bro, I wasn't an angel. I'll leave it at that. Some of those trips we made were, we had to help each other stay awake, and it wasn't in a good way. But I'm not proud of that, and I didn't do that all the time. But nowadays, at least you have energy drinks and all that, and you don't have to go the drug route. And that's what I could tell the guys nowadays. And even back then, it was stupid. Some of us, the stuff we did to try to stay awake, you know. And can't take back what you did in life. You only could try to learn. And I rode with many guys, and we did a lot of stupid stuff, but somehow we made it through. So right now, I would say your best bet is Red Bulls and Red Bulls and any energy stuff you could drink, but definitely stay away from the drugs.
I was going to ask you, that was going to be my final question before I pass it back to Sign Guy. Not necessarily recreational drugs, but, you know, steroids and everything like that, because nowadays you've seen that you just can't look like a tough guy. You know, I grew up watching you guys back in the 80s. I was born in 1980 and stuff, so I remember the Crockett promotions, and one of my favorite wrestlers is Arn Anderson, which nobody can ever accuse of being a body guy. He just looked like if you saw him on the street, he'd beat your ass. What is your opinion about now? You know, the business has geared towards being more about an aesthetic look and being about body guys, and they've gotten away from guys who are just legitimately tough. And, you know, if you got into a bar fight, where the guys took pride in getting in bar fights and beating the shit out of people, and now, you know, everybody goes back to hotel rooms and plays the PlayStation and stuff. What's your opinion about the way the guys now, just as far as how they look, what is your opinion about that? Should we go back to having legitimate tough guys in wrestling?
See, man, when you go legitimate tough guy wrestling, you see, when I was first started, if you were here in Florida, and Eddie Graham had a rule, you get in a bar fight and you lose, you're fucking fired. Yeah, and that was the truth, brother. And so did Bill Watts, and so did all these guys. And a lot of people don't know that shit, but that's the truth. They always said, if you get in a fight, you better win. They would tell you, try not to get in those fights. If you get one, you better win, or you don't have a job the next day. So I choked out of many dumbasses and protected the business. And I can remember one time in Tampa at a place called Papa's, and it was me, the Grappler, God bless Rick Rude, and Bob Roop, Fonzie was there, and some this is right when the Buccaneers were like starting out or whatever, and a couple of football players decided they wanted to either mess with the Grappler or whatever. So we went to go confront them to see what their problem was, you know, because they were like, oh, you phony rappers and all that bullshit, and, you know, it always gets you in trouble. So, and I never, you know, I always heard Rick Rude was a badass, you know, arm wrestling and all that shit. Well, the football players heard that around us, and we got around them, and it was, oh, we're about to fight. But out of nowhere, Rick Rude goes, hey, does that go for me too? Are you saying that I'm a phony too, whatever? And the next thing I knew, before, it was like Rick Rude had this guy by the fucking throat, like we call it goozling, because I learned it from Kurt Hennington down the road. And he grabbed that guy by the throat, and that big old ass football player melted like a candle. And anyway, just to make a long story short, that football player, he ended up basically pissing his pants, and they never bothered us no more. But the guys nowadays, like you just said, it's like, it's different. Like, you know, they do go, you know, they're all playing Pokemon right now or whatever they're doing, you know, and stuff, you know, and they're, you know, they got it made. So many of them got it made. It's not really, if they already got a contract signed and all that, hell, fuck, some of these guys are getting paid just to learn how to wrestle. They're making more money than I made. We're driving 300 miles a week. It's unreal.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Sign Guy. Sign Guy, what do you have for our guests?
You were talking earlier about the miles and how you had to stay awake and things like that. What was the worst territory you were ever in as far as the travel is concerned?
Easy. It was Calgary territory because we had some long ass trips in the Carolinas, and I always knew that Louisiana for Bill Watts was some long ass trips too. But Carolinas, like I said, if you were stuck in the sea crew, but if they mixed it all up, but I would have to say the longest per week was Calgary at that time. I mean, even when I started in '78 in Dallas, Texas, I was wrestling Sunday nights in Dallas, Monday nights in Fort Worth, so that was easy. Then Tuesday would be, somewhere pretty close. Then Wednesday would be Tuesday would be, Tuesday would be somewhere. So Wednesday would be San Antonio, which was a long ass trip. From there, we'd go to, from San Antonio to by Houston there, Corpus Christi, and that was a good ass drive from San Antonio to Corpus Christi, then Corpus Christi to Houston. Then you get done in Houston and have to drive all the way back to Dallas, and that was a long ass ride just to do it all over again.
That's a lot of miles indeed. Well, up here in the Pacific Northwest, like we talked about, you were known for being involved with Don Owens' promotion for a long time. Did you ever have an opportunity to wrestle for any of the competitors like Billy Jack Haynes' promotion or Dean Silverstone's promotion?
No, I'm going to tell you, I lost a lot of respect for Billy Jack when he came from Calgary or whatever, and then he came to Don and Rip Oliver, and I told Don, man, this is a hometown boy. Even though there was Matt Bourne, God bless, but I said, this is a hometown boy with a background. He was in prison. He got out of prison. It's like a real life story here. If you look at it, Don. And Don at first I was, Jesus Christ, I'm not going to push another local guy and all that. And then they end up marrying one of these girls and they smarten them up to the fucking business and all. Don Owens was a hell of a character, man. But I loved him. But, so then Billy Jack, he got that big push and man, he put us through hell. We were selling out. We sold out. Rip Oliver sold out with Billy Jack. I sold out with Billy Jack. Buddy Rose sold out with Billy Jack. Everybody sold out with Billy Jack. The grappler, we all did it. But man, when he first, and then he decided, he was going to run a promotion against Don Owens. And I was asked, I got called and they said, hey man, when you want to come wrestle for Billy Jack, he's going to give you $1,500 a week. And I said, so you want me to leave Don Owens, who gave me all these breaks, for a maybe promotion? I said, first of all, at that time I knew, bro, because at that time it was the grappler and me running that damn dressing room and running that territory. And I knew, we told all those guys, I had to help Ricky Santana get a job back because he was there and Billy Jack went out of business. We told him, I said, Don Owens would be a little bit worried, not like worried, crazy worried about it. And we say, Don, you don't got to worry. We're going to come up with so much shit. We're going to put Billy Jack out of business. And we did do that. Regardless, we came up with all those specials, kids free with this and all that. And we came up with every gimmick in the book and it worked. But I lost a lot of respect for Billy because he got on the commissioner's side and he tried to bury Don Owens and it all backfired on him. In life, I've learned that, this karma, man, people don't believe that, but karma will bite you in the ass. And I look at Billy Jack now and he looks rough, man. And I say, he's sort of like, I feel bad for him. I really do. But he's really like lost it compared, to the Billy Jack that I knew when we first started in the business. But, and the other guy, I don't know who that is that you're talking about that runs another promotion. I know the hardest one was Billy Jack when he tried to run against Don,
When you went to WCW in the 90s, they were, of course, national powerhouse. They had TBS and TNT going strong at that point. Who made the call to get you on board with WCW in the 90s?
The call was made by, at that time, Ric Flair and Kevin Sullivan. Ric Flair was the booker, and Kevin Sullivan was like helping him out at that time and putting a lot of stuff together, and they called me. And then down the road came the El Gigante part, where I was his road manager for a while, and then later on Eric Bischoff came into the picture. And I remember Jimmy Hart was in charge of the Saturday night show, and they had me feuding with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And we messed up because, we did a 3.2 rating on a Saturday night against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And Monday Nitro came along that Monday, and this is a shoot. And Hulk Hogan's match, which Hulk's a very good friend of mine, I love him. Hulk Hogan's match that night, they did like a 3-4, and there was no way they were going to have a main event on a Saturday night show do a 3-2 when the main event on a Monday night show did a 3-4 or 3-5, whatever. And so right then, you figured they would be happy, but our business is so politically incorrect and so full of politics that Eric Bischoff said, in that right now with Hacksaw and Cuban, I don't want them fighting each other no more. And we still had a bunch of matches with each other. Everywhere we went for the house shows, and I'm not saying that to blow any steam. It was great. I'd wrestle Hacksaw. The people wouldn't quit hollering USA, USA. It was unreal. And I remember in Orlando, Florida, Ric Flair Duggan was so mad because we were like third match or fourth match, and the people were going nuts. It was packed. And Duggan came back and he just slung his 2x4 across the deal and hit the wall, and Flair said, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "No, I said, he's pissed off." I said, we had a good program going, and they cut it all, and they ended it because our ratings did good. What kind of, it's just stupidity back then of that shit.
Well, before we let you go, do you have anything you'd like to say to the listeners today? Do you want to plug all your social medias or merchandise, anything you have going on?
Yeah, I would like, first, to all the wrestlers out there, if you love the business, stick to it. This business doesn't guarantee that it's going to give back, but if that's what you love doing it, then you go out there and you go balls to the wall, and no matter what anybody says, I say be positive, and if you're lucky, you'll get picked up. It's really harder than it was even back then for me back in the day, but stick to it if you really love the business. And the thing I would really like to plug is I'm doing what you call the Grapplers All-Star Show, which is a mixture of the Grappler and me with some different characters and fantasies involved with it, which is my wife and manager all over the place. And it's sort of like was not the same. So I don't want you all to. It's not the same as Jake the Snake or Nick Foley or that. It's that concept, but with a twist, a special twist. So if you ever see it coming to your town, or if you want to book it in your town, if people are listening, you can contact me at CubanWorldwide@AOL.com. And then, and Crazy Day, and then I want to plug my bar, if you don't mind me plugging it, Crazy Day Sports Bar in Largo, Florida. It's a great beer and wine. I got great locals. Make the best 9-inch Cuban sandwich around, made with the best bread around, Giovanni's Bakery. And it's really unreal Cuban sandwich. If you're ever in Florida and you don't come to Crazy Dave, and at least try. If you don't drink, at least you got to try a 9-inch Cuban, because it's the real deal. The pork, it's unreal. But other than that, man, if there's wrestling in your town, and you like it and you want to go see it, I don't care if it's a little independent group. I don't care. Go support it, because there's guys out there that need that support. They're not, and it's not their fault, the ones that are not getting taught the right way. So I just wanted to say that, and I want to thank you guys for letting me be on this Undisputed Wrestling show. And I want to thank, I was just at Harvey's Comedy Club 2 weeks ago, and I want to thank Harvey's Comedy Club for having us out there. The people were unreal the way they responded. These are people that came to see comedians, and they responded to the wrestling stories like you wouldn't have believed.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate you being on the Undisputed Wrestling show with us tonight. And best of luck with the bar. If I'm ever in Florida, I definitely want to get one of those Cuban sandwiches.
All right. And so, again, I want to thank Undisputed Wrestling show from Fidel, the Cuban Assassin. It was great and an honor to be on the show.
All right. Well, that was an amazing interview, Huck.
Oh, yeah. I was going to tell him because I'm heading to Florida. I'll be wrestling for Brainbuster Pro at the end of August in the Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood area. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure Largo is not that far away. I was going to tell him, like, hey, I'm probably going to stop by there this month and get one of the sandwiches.
Now, if you could get some dry ice and package one up and send to me, I would appreciate it, Huck.
I don't know. How much does dry ice cost these days?
I think you can get a package for about $15 maybe.
Where do you even buy dry ice at? I mean, I'm pretty sure you can't go to Walmart and buy it.
There's usually a couple of stores in every major town that sells it. Out here, the QFC sells it in the University District, but not every QFC sells it. So you got to look around, but be well worth it because I deeply appreciate it.
Okay, if I could get some dry ice, I would definitely send you one of those Cuban sandwiches overnight delivery. How's that sound?
That would be amazing. I would appreciate that very much.
All right. So anyway, how was your weekend, man? I heard you made a big debut somewhere this weekend.
I did. My week was filled with driving. I made my debut for Wrestle Club in Garden City, Idaho, which is on the outskirts of Boise. Long trip there and back, but I made it. Had a really good show. They have a great young locker room. They're all relatively new, but they listen very well. Crowd was not too bad. They raised some money for the Special Olympics of Idaho, so it was a pretty great debut. And then the next day, went back down to NWA Blue Collar Wrestling, and the Tokyo Monster Cahigas was in town for the first time at NWA Blue Collar.
Well, Jesus, man. That's not, well, first of all, just having Cahigas on the show is pretty awesome. How long was the trip from where you're at to Idaho?
To get to the venue, it took roughly 8 hours.
That's, you know what? Actually, technically, where I'm from, Sign Guy, 8 hours really isn't that bad. 8 hours is either the distance from my house to Atlanta, or it's the distance from my house to the actual North Carolina-Tennessee border, or I can get to, I want to say, Huntington, West Virginia is about 8 hours from my house. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad. The kids around this area, they complain if they have to go to Seattle from Tacoma, which is 30 miles. But, for a Northwest loop, not too bad. I've done far bigger trips than that.
Yes. Man, it kills me sometimes when guys complain about, I have like a 5-hour trip, and it's like, 5 hours? I wish I had a 5-hour trip. Like, I'd love that. Like, I'm driving 12 hours. It's like, just today, I got to drive 12 hours with like 4 hours of sleep, buddy. So, my next question is, since not really a lot of wrestling in Idaho, is this like the first actual indie company in Idaho?
I don't know if it's the first ever. I think that there might have been promotions that ran the occasional show in Idaho, but for sure it's the first full-time independent in a very, very long time. The promoter down there, Garibai, a very, very good wrestler. He traveled all over the country the first 3 or 4 years of his career and wrestled everywhere, drove town to town. A 8-hour drive to him was just to get to the closest town. And he finally got a group of people together, brought a few people in from Utah, trained a lot of his locker room himself, got him ready, and then started launching probably about 6 months ago, I believe, was the first show, and they run about 3 to 4 times a month in Idaho in various towns. They usually attach themselves to some sort of fundraiser event or some sort of charity to help raise funds. So they're doing fairly well down there. And like I said, the locker room was mostly a lot of young green talent, but they all listened really well. And as the night went on, I think things were improving as far as the quality goes. So I think they're definitely moving in the right direction in Idaho.
Yes, eventually one of these days, I have to contact the promoter and stuff and see if I can make a trip. I've never been to Idaho. I'm pretty sure it's not a whole lot there. But I mean, how else would it be to say, hey, I've had potatoes in Idaho?
Absolutely. Actually, the show I was on Saturday, it was a elimination tournament to crown the first ever Potato Bowl Championship, which is the Idaho State Championship, apparently.
Say that again.
It was a single elimination tournament to crown the first ever Potato Bowl champion, which is the official Idaho State champion. Well, I'm not making it up. There's really a Potato Bowl champion, and his name is Mr. Hickman. I think I've stunned Huck.
You stunned him right off the line.
Wow.
Yeah, look, I'm telling you, it was a whole Potato Bowl championship thing that killed me, man.
Yes, it was real. I have video footage of matches from the Potato Bowl Championship.
Is that the actual name of their title, the Potato Bowl Championship?
Yes,
or that
it was
the name of the tournament?
A brand new title that was introduced on Saturday.
So is this company an NWA affiliate, or they're just, independently owned and operated and stuff?
They're independently owned and operated right now. Garibai was really the only independent wrestler in Idaho until he started training people. He brought in a few people from Utah to help him out, but it's mainly people that he's trained. So,
wow.
It's a brand new company. He started from the ground up, but they're showing some potential to be a fairly solvent company, I think. I think they're doing fairly well out there.
So how many did they draw?
I would say they drew in the neighborhood of 75 to 100, which was about all the chairs they had set up. Not sure the exact numbers as far as how much they raised for the Special Olympics, but they definitely did have some money in the jar for the Special Olympics. So they're doing all right, baby steps, but they're making progress there. Very professional locker room as well. Everybody treated me like incoming veteran, which I wouldn't go that far categorize myself, but they treated me extremely well, very professional, very willing to learn, very willing to listen to constructive criticism. So if you make it out that way, Huck, I think you would enjoy yourself.
I think so too. You know what? Like I said, I'm always down. I love to travel. And contrary to what a lot of people think, I actually love to teach and to help guys out and stuff, especially young guys who are respectful and who actually want to learn and stuff, man. So yeah, I'm definitely going to take your advice and definitely contact them and stuff. As far as me this weekend, I had a pretty relaxed weekend up until about Sunday. I didn't have Wednesday I was supposed to be booked for a show Wednesday, a fair show in West Virginia, and ended up getting canceled. And so I was free until Sunday. It was just a crazy, I don't know, for some reason this weekend Sign Guy was weird where, I had 4 days worth of shows all get canceled at the last minute. 2 of them was because the promoters, had over budgeted the show. One of them was a building issue, And then one guy, just basically the show got canceled. So my week was basically wiped out until Sunday when I was at AWE, in Atlanta, Georgia stuff, and had a really good match. Me and my buddy, Joe Black, or Joseph Agal now. His last name's Agal. He's changed his gimmick name thanks to, the ROH seminar he went to. But, so me and Joe went and had a really good match against Viking War Party, from St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I'm pretty sure Kev is, and Zane and Drew Skills, none of them are familiar with them. But we had a really good match, with Viking War Party Sunday. So that was basically my weekend. It was nothing really huge. I went and fed ducks and stuff and got chased by pigeons, and then I wrestled Sunday.
Who did you have on Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday we were at AWE, Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment in Atlanta, and like I said, me and Joe, we wrestled Viking War Party.
Oh, okay, that was Sunday.
Yeah. Everything else was pretty chill.
Well, that sounds like a fairly reasonable weekend. You got down to Atlanta, had a good match with the Viking War Party, I'm sure, so not a total loss.
No, definitely not, man. Definitely not. Like I said, I mean, I've wrestled Little Viking before here in North Carolina. Matter of fact, it'll be 1 year, this Thursday. It'll be 1 year this Thursday that me and him actually, this Friday, I'm sorry. It'll be 1 year, exactly to the date that me and, Little Viking had our match in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I was really excited when I heard that we was going to have a match with him and his tag team partner and stuff in Atlanta.
Now, speaking like I was of Tokyo Monster Kahagas, have you had the opportunity to wrestle him yet, Huck?
No, I've never wrestled against Kahagas. I've been on a show with him. I've been on several shows with him. And I've sat there and I've talked to him, and I've sat underneath the learning tree and stuff while he dissected and tore apart my matches and stuff. But I've never had the chance to actually work with him. And I think I definitely know that I would enjoy working with him. I think we both have very similar styles as far as wrestling goes. We both subscribe to the same school of thought, where we both like to work very tight. We both like to kind of lay stuff in and everything. So yeah, I would definitely look forward to having a match with him.
Now, you're probably aware of this, but just in case you're not, he likes to chop people. Loves it. Absolutely loves to chop people.
Oh, no, trust me. I've seen him and Damian Wayne go at it, in Texas, when I went to Texas and stuff. And then I've seen him I've been on shows with him in Florida and Tennessee and stuff, man. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, I don't mind getting chopped. I just hate when people chop me, and then when it's time to get my shit back, they kind of run off and, try to avoid getting chopped back and stuff. And he's definitely not that kind of guy. Like, if he throws and hits you with a chop and stuff, man, he expects you to hit him back just as hard as he hits you.
If not harder. Well, promoters, they need to get on the ball and get a William Huckabee versus Tokyo Monster Kahagas match going.
I'm going to talk to the powers that be over there, NWA Blue Collar. So I can come back there and get Connie back, because I think that Bad Blood's had her long enough. But maybe we could turn that into a triple threat match where it's me, Bad Blood, and Kahagas and stuff. And then that would definitely be a knockout, drag out fight. And I think that, for lack of a better word, I think we'll tear that fucking building apart.
I think that would be a great matchup. And as a matter of fact, Kahagas is actually coming back this Sunday to NWA Blue Collar. He wanted to return already, and he will be back, and he is teaming with Bad Blood on this particular trip. They are putting together 3 different versions of the Dungeon of Doom into one team this coming Sunday. It's a very interesting mix, but I will mention that to the powers that be at NWA Blue Collar.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, I like guys like him and Bruce Santee and Damian Wayne, guys that like to get in there and actually fight. You don't have to worry about somebody trying to do a 360 flippity do or whatever. It's like, hey, we're just gonna beat this shit out of each other. You know what I'm saying? Throw each other around, and we're not supposed to say, yeah, we're going to entertain the fans, but more than that, we're just going to beat the hell out of each other. And tomorrow morning, you're going to be sore, and you're probably not going to get off your couch.
Absolutely. Well, Huck, there's a lot going on this week in professional wrestling besides our adventures in Georgia and Idaho and Oregon. one of the things that has been catching my eye lately that I can't get enough of is the saga of Matt Hardy and his obsolete mule brother Nero. Have you been keeping an eye on what's been going on?
Oh my God! Look, if TNA has not struck gold with they have legitimately captured lightning in a bottle with the broken Matt Hardy and the obsolete mule Jeff Hardy. I mean, yeah, Jeff brother Nero or Jeff Hardy, whatever you want to call it. Like, that is probably some of the most entertaining. Maybe not technically, technical wise is not the greatest wrestling, but entertaining wise, keeping you glued to the TV or on your phone, on the internet, YouTube, whatever the case may be. Like, that's some of the best things going on in wrestling right now.
Now, someone, somewhere, someplace has got to incorporate Brother Nero's theme into an entrance. There has to be someone on the independents willing to do that, and someone else also on the independents willing to scream obsolete at them as they walk to the ring. I think I saw it again.
No, I'm still here. No, I hit the wrong button. I would do it myself. I would travel around and do it for them. It's just, I don't know who came up with that. If the Hardy Boys came up with that themselves, then kudos to TNA, their creative department, for listening to them. If somebody on the creative team came up with that, then I hope he got promoted I hope he or she, let me be politically correct, I hope he or she got a raise to being, head creative writer, because that's probably one of the best things that TNA has done. And it maybe, in my opinion, it might have saved the company, in my opinion. Things were looking down for TNA, and this whole, Broken Hardy storyline / gimmick has definitely become a breath of fresh air for the company, and actually has people watching the product and engaging with the wrestlers and the talent and everything. So that was a very smart move with TNA.
Absolutely. It got lost in the shuffle of everything that was going on with the storyline and the angle they're doing with it. But Chuck Taylor made his way to Impact Wrestling in a tag team match against the Hardys. I believe I can say that without getting a $5,000 bill from Matt. Chuck Taylor just kind of randomly showing up on Impact. What did you think of that?
I thought like Chuck Taylor was retiring from wrestling or something like that, and then all of a sudden he pops up on TNA. Because I was at one of the shows. I was at a show here in North Carolina when he was saying like this was probably going to be his last year was actually supposed to be his last year wrestling. And you really haven't heard a lot from Chuck Taylor like you usually do. So when I saw him on TNA, I was watching TNA, of course, and when I saw him on the show, I immediately called it or messaged and started tweeting people like, "Hey, I thought he said he was basically done. Like, if my memory serves me correct, when you're saying, hey, I'm basically done, about to stop wrestling, you don't end up, randomly on TNA one day."
That's why I retired from retiring, because, it never holds up in wrestling. Never.
Oh, yeah, there was a vet one time told me that nobody ever retires from wrestling. You just stop taking bookings. So actually, people just stop booking you.
Exactly. How old was Gypsy Joe the last time he took a booking?
Say that again?
How old was Gypsy Joe the last time he took a booking? He had to be well into his 80s.
I want to say, I think Gypsy Joe was still wrestling, or maybe he was actually in-ring talent, but he was still going to shows and being a part of the shows, whether in a backstage role or an on-screen, commissioner, GM role and stuff, almost up to the day he passed away, unfortunately.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, just like, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what did you think of what they did with that fan and Matt Hardy, whom I believe I can say without getting a $5,000 fine, as long as I don't mention the name with his brother, or he took the fan, drug him across the barricade, and then tried to bite his face off?
I want to say, of course, because I'm a wrestler, I'm a part of this business, that nothing is a shoot. I do believe no matter what anyone says, it's a work. It was different. I was, of course, like anything that they're doing right now, I was like, holy shit. Right now, in recent memory, within the last month, I can only think of one person who has a better storyline than, Broken Matt and Jeff Hardy and stuff. And I'll get to that later. As far as them dragging the fans along, I think that for the most part, it was very funny. But I don't like storylines like that because it gives other fans the idea that they can cross the barricade, or it gives these guys out here in, independent wrestling world that they can do something like that and that's okay. Like, you don't want to set a precedent for, touching fans or getting people who are on the other side of the barricade involved into the storyline, whether they are a wrestler, whether they're one of the boys and stuff, and they're actually talent you've hired and stuff in this one spot or not. I think that sets a bad precedent, for everybody else.
I agree with you 100%, and I basically broke in doing that. I was the crowd plant, basically. That's sort of how I broke into the business. But I don't really agree with it because, like you said, it sets a bad precedent, and when fans see someone get drug across the barricade or they see a wrestler go after the fan or whatever, a lot of times in their mind, it signifies it's all right to do that. So they will take shots. They will start going after the wrestlers with the mindset of, well, that person did it, so obviously it's fine, when it clearly isn't. And I think it just is a dangerous, dangerous precedent to set, even though, like I said, that's how I got into the business. But looking at it now, it sets a dangerous precedent, especially when promoters do things like fans bring the weapons and they do fan lumberjack matches. Too many of the fans take advantage of things like that to take cheap shots, and it can lead to a lot of really risky things going down that can lead to promotions having to close the doors. So,
look, I hate to break it up. I hate to jump in right now, but yeah, like, and I've done fans bring the weapons matches, and I've done the whole fans as the lumberjacks and stuff. I legitimately did one match where the fans were lumberjack, and it was like a lumberjack strap match. And yeah, if you're a heel in a match like that, you are doing, like, you just need to know that you're going to get the shit beat out of you. I had fans, like, legitimately hitting me with the buckle of their belts across the back of the head and stuff, because they take that as, this is my chance to get you back for all the shit you've been talking for the last couple months. Hey, haha, it's not funny now. And I just wanted to say that, but yeah, I like I say, like, I think it sets a bad precedent, and I didn't know that that's how you got into the business either.
Yep, absolutely it was. Yeah, I did it was a partly fans lumberjack match where they had all the boys in the locker room and fans around the ring with straps as lumberjacks. And to say it was chaotic and out of control would be a huge understatement. Police ended up having to come to the venue. Some fast talking had to be done. So definitely wasn't a good situation. And I flatly refused fans bring the weapons matches. I was in one. I told myself, I said, if you survive this somehow, never ever again will I be in a fans bring the weapon match. I have held to that. I had bookers begging me to officiate said matches. I said, nope, I promised myself and I won't do it. And they said, you don't have to wrestle in it this time. I said, don't care. Said I would never be involved in one, and I never will, and I have held to that. I retired from fans bring the weapon matches, and I've held to that so far.
Now, I want to ask you this before we get our next guest on, and we got a little less than 10 minutes before we have our next guest on. But I want to ask you your opinion on this. Eva Marie had her debut on Raw since the whole draft and stuff. Did you get a chance to watch last week's Raw?
Yeah. Eva Marie, you mean SmackDown?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Was it SmackDown? Yes.
Yeah, she's on a SmackDown Live brand.
Did you get a chance to watch it?
I watched last week's, yes.
So what was your opinion on the match not even happening because she got injured coming off the second rope during her entrance?
I didn't really understand it because the way she was selling it, I didn't understand if she was selling like a blown out knee or an ankle, or if she was making it look like she had done that for some reason. I didn't know where they were going. I was pretty sure it wasn't a legitimate injury, but it was just kind of confusing the way she was selling it. So I was just baffled by it more than anything.
In my opinion, I absolutely loved it. She, of course, Eva Marie is like one of the most hated wrestlers in the world, period. Like, the IWC hates her. And she had this huge, grand, elaborate entrance with the guy speaking and stuff and everything. And then she takes her time, walks to the ring, and then gets into the ring, and then she gets to the second row of poses. And then she gets down, and I think that she was supposed to be selling the fact that she pulled her hamstring or something like that. It came across as very hokey when she stepped out. She's like, I can't do anything. Like, I think I just pulled my hamstring, and then, of course, the referee calls the match off, and they have the ringside sports physician, who's a friend of mine, a great, outstanding wrestler / referee and stuff, from Georgia, had him, escort her to the back and stuff. And I thought it was just completely genius. Because we all know that as far as in-ring technical ability, she is not good whatsoever. But she has a great ability to draw heat and to get heat from the fans just from coming out there to the ring and stuff. So I thought that it was genius on their part for using her for getting her heat just doing her entrance and skipping the entire match.
Now, do you think that this is going to be something that gets played out for several weeks leading to something, or do you think that this is something they're going to try to hotshot her into a feud with someone in time for the pay-per-view, maybe?
If you would have asked me that question a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, I would say, yeah, they're probably going to rush it, and they're going to hotshot the storyline and put her in a feud with, what's her name, Carmella? Isn't that the NXT girl who just got drafted?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I would assume that they was going to put her to, go ahead and throw her into a storyline with her and a feud with her. But I think, with the recent booking decisions and storylines that they've had, I think they're going to take their time with this one. If they were smart, they would take their time with her. And every time she's ready to come out, something happens to where she's not able to wrestle. And just, because one of my favorite wrestlers of all time and the person that you're very familiar with, Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper only wrestled on big shows. He didn't wrestle, you never seen him wrestling on Saturday nights at 7 or Sunday nights at 7 or on Saturday morning wrestling, whatever. Like, he wrestled Starrcade, WrestleMania, pay-per-views, and that's all he did. He didn't work, he didn't wrestle house shows and stuff. He went out there, he cut a promo, got his heat, and then went to the back. And I would like to see them do that with her.
The weird thing with this is, and I don't understand this reasoning, but they split the two rosters as far as the women go, but the championship seems to be exclusive to Raw. So Eva Marie, as well as the rest of the women, Carmella, Becky Lynch, Natalya, they have no championship for which to contend. Do you think that they're going to eventually put a women's title on SmackDown Live, or do you think that they'll just continue without any championship for half the division? How do you think they're going to play it?
I think that they're not going to have a choice. They're going to have to have a second women's title. They did the same thing, with the WWE title. The WWE Heavyweight Championship was on SmackDown. They didn't have a main title holder on Raw, so they just went ahead and created one specifically for Raw. So I think that they don't have a choice but to make a women's title and even maybe a tag team title for SmackDown.
The way they've been explaining it so far on Raw is, actually on SmackDown Live too, as they drafted the specific titles to be exclusive to those shows. Do you think that when they do things like that, it makes the GMs look a little bit silly, because shouldn't they have gone after the champions with their first picks rather than split all the titles up?
Yeah, if they're going to do it like that, where these titles are exclusive to these brands, then the draft makes no sense. You want the best people on your show. So your first two picks should be, the first four picks should have been, WWE champ, women's champ, tag champ, our first five should have been all the titles, split between drafts and stuff. But at the same time, I know everybody wants John Cena on their show. You want the Randy Ortons, you want Brock Lesnar and stuff, but you want these titles on your show. In my opinion, you should want the titles on your show more than the top athletes and stuff.
Absolutely. And it looks like they took Cesaro and they used the promo that he cut right after being drafted, and they're making an angle out of this now. Do you think that was always the plan when he did that interview, or do you think they took something he did and now they're going to run with it to see what happens with it?
I think that was you want to say everything's a work and that nothing happens in WWE that Vince doesn't know about. But I think that sometimes, like we see with Dolph Ziggler, you see guys that they just get frustrated, and they say stuff. And especially when you're on a program like Raw, or they go backstage interviews on the WWE network and stuff, which is live, you can basically say what you want to say, within reason, and there's nothing that Vince can do about it. They can't do anything once it's live. So I think that he legitimately had some concerns and some complaints and stuff, and he aired his grievances during the draft, and then they decided, like Vince always does, hey, well, you know what? Let's take this lemon and make lemonade and see what happens. With 2020 hindsight being the way it is, you could say that, it was smart for Cesaro to have made that promo and to cut that promo and say what he said. But now you have to ask yourself, did he set a bad example for future superstars who think that if I want to get a push, all I got to do is make sure that I'm on a live broadcast and then say whatever the fuck I want to say?
Absolutely, yeah. I personally, kind of lean towards they had planned it that way, since they're using it on TV that quick, but you never can tell. And in a similar vein, they released Joey Styles, and he did an interview apparently within the last several days, also very critical of the company.
Exactly. So are we ready for our next guest?
I'm all ready, Killer Kev. Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, our second hour guest for this show is one of my favorite wrestlers, whether male or female. Somebody that I absolutely adore, no matter how much she gets on my nerves. But she has been called the She-Hulk of the South. She is Miss Big Bang Nicole, fresh off of a tour from Japan. Ronnie, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing wonderful. How are you doing?
Doing really well. You got myself, the incredible Huck, William Huckabee, and I also have on the line one of the greatest producers in podcast history, Killer Kev, and Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee from out there in Portland, Oregon, Sign Guy. Sign Guy, you want to say hi to Ronnie before we start this interview?
Absolutely. Hello. Yes.
Hello, how are you doing? Thank you so much for having me on the show.
All right. I forgot to tell everybody also, and Ronnie, I'm so sorry, you should have reminded me. This is something that Sign Guy would like. Sign Guy, she is also the current reigning and defending Gouge women's champion for over a year now, correct?
That's right. I think it's approaching 380 something. I don't keep count. I just knock them down. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of my job. So.
well, Sign Guy, Sign Guy had for the longest time. Sign Guy has always wanted to work for Gouge Wrestling and stuff. So he had this huge thing and stuff, and we had to make phone calls and Facebook messages with certain stuff. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Sign Guy, you now have a standing invitation to Gouge Wrestling, right?
That is correct. I will be there at some point this year. Don't have the exact date finalized, but I will be there because hashtag get Sign Guy into gouge work.
Man, I'm looking at it. Amazing. Well, Ronnie, let's go ahead before we get to like the really cool questions and the meat and potatoes of this interview. How about you go ahead with our fans who have, which I find it hard for them to do, but for any of our fans and listeners who don't know about Ronnie, Nicole, go ahead and let us know how you got to the business, who trained you, et cetera, et cetera.
So you want like the true Hollywood story, like the abridged version, I guess. I started down in Fayetteville, at North Carolina actually, and I started with my stick Eddie Brown. He was so kind to me. I was such a goofball and a hot mess, and it was really intense working with me at some point. And, unfortunately I wasn't able to continue, there, which hurt my heart, but, Eddie has always been my wrestling dad. But I was able to find another place to train, thanks to a fellow wrestler, and, ended up getting the opportunity to meet W. Anderson and, former NWA national champion Mark Cody and, ECW Chili Willie. So, it was really awesome, getting trained by a bunch of old school guys, and as well as being able to be trained in different styles. Eddie trains a little bit differently than CW, and Lou trains differently than Chili. So I got to pick up a little bit of all of that from having that kind of hybrid training. So I kind of muddled my way through my first few matches until I was really, really released to kind of go out on my own and do my own thing. It hasn't stopped. I just kind of trained and kept the ball rolling, and tried to go to as many places as possible. Experience that it's road life that the veterans talk about, and getting that experience of learning from different people, because it is different. Wrestling now and back then. So we kind of have to cut our own cloth. But I was very fortunate to be led by some amazing men and have knowledge that they were so gracious.
Now, Ronnie, you've been in the ring with a lot of not only female competitors but male competitors. And Sign Guy, I can say from firsthand experience, because I've actually had a match with Ronnie Nicole, that she may be a woman, but she hits like a man. Ronnie, my question, Ronnie, is, why? Why? Is there a conscious decision on your part to actually not only wrestle with females, but to also wrestle against male talent whenever the opportunity arises?
I'm going to be completely honest. I like wrestling guys. Don't get me wrong. There's no comparison to stepping in the ring with a female competitor who is equal or above you and the next level and challenge. That camaraderie, that competition, that girl power almost, that you feel when you have the opportunity to wrestle another girl and the match is great. You guys are setting the room on fire and the chemistry's there and everything is falling into place. You get everything they wanted and left and wanted as well. There's nothing that compares to that. But when I started wrestling, I was only wrestling guys. I was training with guys. I was essentially one of the boys for the longest time. I didn't know how to wrestle, a female competitor because I had kind of conditioned myself in just as hard as the boys. And regardless of what you say, that men are always stronger. And so sometimes don't know how to adjust is a little, not good. But I was fortunate enough to get a streak of being able to get some really incredible roles. They really helped me kind of adjust myself to wrestling those things, but being able to do that professionally. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry about having a male competitor for me personally.
Hey, now, Ronnie?
Yeah.
I don't know where you're at right now, but like, I missed like the second half of that. Just because your mic is going in and out. I'm so sorry.
Hey, so what did you miss?
Hello? Is that
better?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is better.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
I was just saying that, it's a rush to get to 7th grade with the male competitors that I know or that I don't know. I got the opportunity to wrestle some guys in Japan, which was really surprising and really cool, because it's interesting that style, in a foreign country. But I will always, have a special place in my heart for intergender wrestling always, because that's essentially how I started my career. And, after you goaded me into that match, Huck,
I didn't. Oh, well, first of all, I did not goad you into a match.
Oh,
you were talking,
really?
You were talking a little bit trash. I wish I could find the tweet, son.
Oh, you don't even have to. Don't worry about it. I got the tweet. Don't worry about it, because I was very nervous about this situation, because I was like, okay, is he for real right now? Because if I have to go in there and beat up a dude, I'll do it. Like, I don't want to, but I'll do it. But low key, I was like, is he for real? I was like, I thought you were really gonna beat me up. I was like, is this a shoot? I was like, oh my god. And so like, I'm at training and I'm like pacing around the ring, like, okay, so what do I need to do? And so I was prepared. Like, if you went crazy, I was gonna put you down, bro. Like, I'm sorry. That was just gonna be the story of your life right then, because I was like, it was gonna be me or you, and I was not gonna, because you were Hugged. You gave me a hard time, and you give all the greenies a hard time. Like, you were the worst. I love you, but you're the worst. Like, for real.
I can't even breathe right now.
Like, it's true. You know it's true. That's why you're laughing. Because you know you give us all a hard time. You're making people carry your bags and stuff. Don't act like you're nice. You're not nice. Okay? And so you were like, you were being really scary and stuff. And I was like, I'm new. I'm still learning the business. I'm still trying to, like, make the right moves and stuff. Because, Mark James had given me a long speech about how, it's really important to keep your career good in the beginning, and he was like, make sure that you follow, good examples and don't cause any trouble. And so when this came about, I was like, oh my gosh, is this like real heat? Is this legit? What am I going to do? I was like, I don't want any trouble. I don't want to die. I was like, he'll die. Yeah, he'll die. Like, I'm just having this internal conversation with myself. Like, and then you came out to freaking whoop that trick, and I was like, and that's not even your regular music. And I was like, really? Really? Okay. So after that, I was just mad. So that's really why I hate you so hard.
Well, look, if it makes you feel better, for all of our listeners listening and stuff, and I've never really told this story, excuse me, the promoters and the bookers and stuff, I was a champion at the time of this company. And they really wanted me to do something different. They wanted me to have a match with a female or whatever, just to generate more heat, just because the character I was portraying was very slimy, was a very, shady person, what I'm saying? Just a horrible bad guy. Just a horrible person, really. And so they're like, hey,
jerk face.
Yeah, misogynistic jerk face. Yes, misogynistic jerk face. And so they asked me, hey, Will, is there any females that you know about that you wouldn't mind working with for like a show or whatever? And so I was like, yeah, actually there is. There's this one girl I know. I don't know if she'll do it or not, but she's really green. But I think I can have a good match with her. Like, she's super green, but I can have a good match with her, like, whatever. And so you was like the first person I thought of. I was like, yo, I really want to work with her because I think it would be great. Like, she's not one of these small little Barbie girls. Like, she can actually hit. And if by chance shit gets crazy in the ring, whatever, and I gotta like knock her the fuck out legitly, it's okay. Because everybody looking like, yo, well, she's a big girl. Like, hey, man, I had to hit her. Like, Jesus. And I didn't have to worry about being careful with you. So I was like, so you should take it as a compliment. Anyway, getting back to you, Ronnie, because that's what the show is about. All right, we're talking about you.
Like half compliment, half insult.
That was a great compliment. Before you got into wrestling, Because you've always been a competitor, it turns out. You've always had a competitive spirit. Before you got into wrestling, you weren't always, the She-Hulk of the South, now were you?
No, I was not.
Okay. Well, do I have to say it, or do you have to tell everybody what you were doing? What was Big Bang Nicole doing before she was slamming and choking and hitting people?
Taking body shots and dancing to dubstep? Or no, is that not what you mean?
No, we're talking about you being a cheerleader, girl. And not only were you a cheerleader, but you was a dance instructor and everything also.
Yeah. So I did semi-pro cheerleading for like 2.5, 3 years. I don't know. And I was also a dance and color guard instructor. Like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is, but color guard is the girls with the flags and the rifles and the sabers that accompany the marching band. So they're like the visual punctuation of what the band is playing. And I did that for a number of years. Like, I actually started doing that right out of high school. So, over 10 years, doing that. And I'd been dancing since I was maybe 4 or 6. So, I really always wanted to do something that was competitive, and that was active, and that was dealing with the arts, because I'm just an artsy person. I did pageants, I sang, I'm not like an arty artist, but I draw, I paint, I do super cute things I like on Pinterest, but, there's always been some sort of competitive or artsy thing in my life, so all of that, everything folds into wrestling. You got to be able to move, you've got to be able to speak, you've got to be able to act, I did some independent movies, I did some stage plays, I was always doing something theater-wise in school. It was just really a creative life that I wanted to lead that led me to what I always knew that I was going to end up doing.
And I was going to say, I found out something, as long as we've known each other, Ronnie, I found something out today that I never knew, and I had to go back and rewatch. You was actually an extra in the movie, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
I actually had to go back and see if I could find you, and I haven't found you yet. So I'm going to watch it again after this podcast. For all of our fans and listeners, our esteemed guest today was a extra. We had a part in the movie, what was it, For Colored Girls Only?
For Colored Girls, yes.
Yes. How did that come apart?
It was just putting myself into one of those extra casting website thingies, and just sending my stuff off and going. It wasn't as rewarding as I thought it was going to be. Like, when I was in high school, I did one episode of One Tree Hill, and that was like more of a highlight for me. I'm not going to front.
Well, Ronnie, look, hold on for a second. For everybody listening, this is the Undisputed Wrestling Show. Find us on the Angry Marks podcast. Also, go to our website, the Undisputed Wrestling Show at Wheelie.net. Right now, I'm going to pass it over to the favorite referee of Kevin Sullivan, from Portland, Oregon, our resident Portland wrestling historian, Sanga. Sanga, what do you have for Miss Ronnie Nicole?
Well, first of all, thank you for being a guest here on the Undisputed Wrestling Show. Now, as Huck was saying, you, of course, are the Gouge Women's Champion, which I was aware. But in the last few days, Gouge took the other championship there, the Spaceman Frank Hickey Championship trophy, and they made it a 24/7 rules type of championship. At the NWA convention, several people won that title, everyone from Bill Apter to Tommy Young to Seymour Snott, who walked out of the convention as the champion. Is the Spaceman Frank Hickey Championship trophy something on your radar?
Well, I can't say that it is on my radar, but I know that it did create quite a buzz this weekend at FanFest. And I know that a lot of people enjoyed their victories, no matter how brief they were. But no, I'm really trying to take the Gouge women's division in a higher direction. You know, Gouge has a lot of awesome characters as well as talent, but it's been very rare that they've had consistent women to come through the promotion, you know, and kind of show that, hey, this is going on in terms of great gimmicks and some things that you may not see every Monday night. However, there's also these vixens and these powerhouses who come and dominate this women's division and represent from all over the country, you know. And so my aspirations for the women's division for Gouge are very high, you know, as we continue to bring in different talent, and as I continue to take their heads off, no matter how famous they may be, you know, it's still going to raise the bar for whoever comes after me, whenever that is, you know. But I definitely think that Gouge is one of the promotions that people kind of sleep on. But you know, when I'm at the shows and I look out into the crowd, you know, we're really entertaining people. The kids really, you know, they love Gouge. They love the characters there. They love the wrestlers there. You know, they hate the ones that they should, you know, and it kind of gives you that throwback feel, which I love, because sometimes these days you don't really feel that, you know, that who should I cheer, who should I boo, because not everybody tells a story in their matches anymore. So I love that feeling of nostalgia that Gouge can kind of bring back to wrestling, you know. And that was, just to be precise, that was 403 days that I am the undefeated Gouge Women's Champion. 403.
403 days, very impressive. A little bit more impressive than Bill Apter's reign as champion. Now, you say you want to take the women's champion to a higher level at Gouge. Who are some of the women out there that you would like to see come to Gouge and challenge you for that championship?
Well, I would love to actually, just because I love her, wrestling her, she's so amazing, have another match, and whether it's a title defense or not, just another match at Gouge with Thunder Rosa. She's incredible. Or Lucha Underground's Cobra Moon. She's so talented, very, very wrestling knowledgeable, and just a fun person to work with. So I would love to see her in Gouge. Lady Kappa, of course. Another beautiful, dominating powerhouse in the ring. One of my personal idols, Kong, Cough, Grog, Fundraiser. Who else? Definitely Ray. She's out in California, but I would love if she would somehow make her way to Gouge. I definitely would like a rematch against Ariel Monroe, who scarred my gorgeous face over the weekend, and I'm gonna slap that little mohawk off her head, because everybody knows that scars on brown people are so difficult to manage. I didn't appreciate it. So I would definitely like to bring her. And there's so many other girls, you know, Taylor Hendricks, who is gorgeous and talented, Solo Darling, pretty much the entire Queens of Combat roster. You know, big shout out to Sojo Bolt, who I love so much, and she's the best. And Taylor Hendricks, who is gorgeous and sweet and awesome, and I love her as well. Hail Hendricks, hashtag. But yeah, there's so many girls now who just kill it, and I wanna wrestle all of them. And Gouge is kind of one of the places I count as my home promotion, so I definitely have a little bit more leeway with working with some great people, and I'm looking forward to who's going to be coming in the future.
Someone that I usually compare you to as far as style and ability is Mickey Knuckles. Have you ever crossed paths with Mickey Knuckles?
Yes, actually crossed paths with Mickey Nichols this weekend at the NWA Legends Stand Fest. She and Jessie Bell faced Savannah Evans and Devin Nicole in a tag team match, and we were all there for the signing in the morning, so I had to keep them separate. If you check out my Facebook page and my live stream there, you might catch some of the chaos that was that day, but it was organized chaos. It was so much fun. I had to keep those two groups separate for most of the morning because they kept getting into it before their match. But yeah, very talented. Love both of them, her and Jessie Bell, to death. But I'm still Team Sexy Young Carmel, so I'll have to rep for my girl.
I noticed on your list of girls you'd like to challenge their gouge, you had a couple of California names with Ruby Reyes and Thunder Rosa. Would you yourself count California as one of the places you'd eventually like to wrestle?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I would like to get out as far and as wide as this world will let me go. California is definitely one place that I was hoping to get to before I left. But I'm definitely looking forward to some possibilities of getting out there now. So it would be really great, especially because there's so much talent out there. And the girls out there really just are so over the top with their gimmicks and their characters. And I just really hope that I can get to delve into their wrestling scene as well.
Do you have any other specific areas, be it domestically or internationally, that you would most like to travel to, kind of like my gouge?
Yeah, definitely. Chicago, Philadelphia, the UK. I'm looking forward to returning to Japan. I definitely want to get to Australia. I literally want to go around the world. Wrestling is everywhere, and it's something that unites people in a way that I think is really unique. And so if I can learn from different people in different places and really get into that in terms of different countries, different styles, it's all going to help me and develop me as a wrestler. But in turn, it develops me as a person. And I want to do as much of that as possible and as long as my body will allow me to. So, yeah, I want to go everywhere. I really want to go everywhere. I definitely I'm a little more apprehensive about going to Mexico now. One of my very close friends just returned from there and got stung by a scorpion, and then got some sort of infection, which was not awesome. And then I was reading a biography about how challenging the wrestling scene can be there sometimes. But, I definitely want to go and learn as much as I can, especially lucha style. So, the possibilities are really endless.
I, of course, like we referenced, I'm a big, big fan of Gouge. Love Gouge. Excited to go out there. For someone that's not familiar with the Gouge promotion and what it's about, could you explain to the listeners what exactly the promotion is like and what they could expect if they were to venture to a Gouge show?
Okay. So, Gouge is definitely one of the more unique wrestling promotions that you'll see. There's a couple out there that do some different type of wrestling, but they're a little bit more spread out, and I think it's really cool because Gouge is in the South, and it does something different in terms of wrestling that you wouldn't typically see because of Southern style, like how Southern style wrestling is. So, Gouge is gimmicks only wrestling, okay? It started in kind of like the bar scene of Raleigh, and it was a different organization then, but something happened and the organization evolved into Gouge, and it put it a little bit of a different spin on wrestling when it came back. And so Gouge wanted to promote a bigger audience, and didn't really want to follow that vein of wrestling where you see the kind of the, not in a negative light, but like the cookie cutter guys or, the divas or that. So they kind of wanted to bring, oddities and kind of that carnival wrestling feel. back to wrestling. And so they started running shows again under this Gouge moniker, and it was kind of like you don't know what you're gonna get. So it stands for Gimmicks Only Underground Grappling Entertainment, and it definitely stays true to that. You have everyone there has some sort of character or gimmick, and you see some very unique types of matches. There's a turkey on a pole match around Thanksgiving. There was a reverse rumble. You have the reverse main event. So like the card runs backwards. So the main event's the first match. You just do a lot of different things. Like sometimes if Grog, who is the owner of the promotion, enjoys your match and it's hot outside, he might stop your match and give you an ice cream so that you may refresh yourself. So you don't know what you're going to get when you're at a Gouge wrestling show. But a lot of times we run, at breweries, and we get, huge crowds of people and families. There's food trucks that people are eating and enjoying the wrestling with their families and drinking some good craft beer. And, there's great music and funny wrestling and good wrestling, because we've got a lot of great talent there as well. So it's definitely one of the more unique places that I've ever worked, but I've definitely enjoyed my time there, and I'm definitely really proud to be their women's champion because I think I can bring a little bit of something unique to the already unique environment that Gouge provides.
Now, my last question before I pass things over to Huck again. Myself and Kevin Sullivan can both proudly claim we have Seymour Snot t-shirts in our closets that we wear on a regular basis. Have you yourself picked up the Seymour Snot t-shirt?
I have not actually picked up a Seymour Snot t-shirt, but you know what? It's probably better I didn't, because I have a terrible habit of cutting the sleeves off my shirts or like cutting them in weird ways, and he always has such really cool graphics and logos and stuff on his shirt, so I would feel bad if I like destroyed it. But no, I love Seymour. He's awesome. I did buy him Silly String one time, so if that counts for anything, I was somewhat helpful that day.
Well, I am going to pass things back over to the incredible Huck, and hopefully I will see you when I make my way to Gouge at some point.
Yes, can't wait to see you.
Lonnie, I'm back. Before I even ask my next question or whatever, I have to let you know that our executive producer, the prophet Rick Craig, said that y'all actually worked a show in Marion, Indiana a couple months ago. I'm assuming before you made your trek to Japan, y'all worked the show together in Marion, Indiana. And not only was he impressed with your work rate and your wrestling and stuff, but he was impressed with you as a person. So he wanted to make sure that you knew that you actually had a fan out there in Indiana and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. That's lovely. Thank you.
We don't have much time. We don't have that much time left with you, so I really want to talk to you about Japan. Unfortunately, we can't go into detail, but we can definitely get you back on to talk about that. But Japan, how was it? What did you like? What didn't you like? What did you learn while you was over there in the land of the rising sun?
Japan, I love it. I don't know. We don't have much time, and I could gush about it for 30 million years, and that's not an exaggeration, because there's so much to love. So I guess I'll start with, like, the bad things. And there's not, like, a lot, but being away for 6 months is not easy. It puts a strain on all of the relationships in your life with your family, your friends, and, people you love. And so that was definitely hard for me because I'm a very, affectionate person with the people that I love. And so, Japan is very formal and very conservative. So there's not a lot of hugging and there's not a lot of, bodily contact. So for 6 months, I was doing air hug or church side hug or deaconess hug. So it was definitely hard being away from my love. The definitely navigation for me personally was very difficult. I kind of wish I had sonar like a bat or a dolphin or a whale, because I was constantly getting lost and having small anxiety attacks. And I guess I looked so flustered. That's why people were so kind to me and helping me, because I couldn't do it. And one time I took the freaking train all the way to the airport. And in order to get off, you have to have a ticket, because nobody just goes to the airport, right? So I'm trying to explain to the lady that I took the wrong train and, I just needed to turn around. And she's looking at me like, And I'm like, come on, man, just let me get back to my dojo. So, that was not the best, but, everything else was great. Training, things I love, training, it was very, very hard. It's probably the hardest thing I've done thus far in my career. And, it was every day, I trained 6 days a week. So you had to get used to your body, have to adjust to that type of schedule. But it was good. I learned so much. I learned a lot of awesome drills. I learned a lot of awesome exercises. I learned a lot of awesome wrestling, things that I'm starting to incorporate into my arsenal. The culture of wrestling over there is incredible. I can't express enough how different the way Japanese culture approaches wrestling. And I'm not into if one is better than the other. They're just different. And I just tend to now, after experiencing that, really favor how they approach wrestling. Everyone looks at it as a business. Everybody sees how working together gets more accomplished. And so everyone is working for the greater good of wrestling. So you'll have veterans of wrestling who've been wrestling for, 30 plus years, still helping to set up a ring or picking up streamers off the floor. It's just really humbling to see that these people care so much about what they're doing and what we are doing and what we present to everyone as wrestling, as a product. So I love that. The food, of course, is off the chain. There were a lot of desserts that are quite delicious. I'm not gonna lie. I had to train a little bit harder for a while because I was enjoying these delicious little lemon cakes. Man, I'm trying to tell you. Whew. They just, it got to one point where I was like, how many of these have I had? Oh my gosh, have I had 3 of these today? Uh-oh. Okay, I probably don't need to buy any more of these. I'm talking to myself, get your life together. You're not here to, put on weight and, eat sweets. But they were so good, man. And, we're right down the street from this awesome little grocery store that had all these little unique desserts and different foods and things. It was just amazing. Oh, on the dislike list, the dojo cat. I hated that cat. It tried to kill me the entire time I was there. And, legit, people thought I was kidding in those posts. I was going to turn that cat into a purse. He was messing with me to the point where I was like, okay, all right.
Well, look, Ronnie, our time is running short. Of course, I'm going to talk to you off the air and stuff about continuing this interview and everything. But before we let you go, I need you to give out all your social media. And sign, gosh, she has a lot. So all of our fans and listeners can keep up with the She-Hulk from the South. Go ahead and give them out all your social media, please.
I'll start with my Facebook fan page, which was She-Hulk of the South, but after returning from the crucible that is Japan, she is no longer. So if you search for me, it is now /Big Bang Nicole. If you are looking for me on Instagram, it is @Glitterlicious Fierce, all one word. On the tweets, it is @Glitterlicious. And check me out in a couple of days because I'll be live streaming from one of the matches that will be taking place here in North Carolina that I will be attending with the excellence of elegance himself, Timmy Lee Retton. If you're looking for me on about.me, it's Ronnie Nicole. Snapchat is Ronnie Nicole R. And if you're looking for me on YouTube, You can put in Ronnie Nicole or Ronnie Big Bang Nicole, and all of my video channels will pop up. And I think that's everything. Oh, and for booking requests, Ronnie Nicole at gmail.com. Excuse me, Ronnie Nicole R at gmail.com, or Ronnie Big Bang Nicole at gmail.com. And I think, okay, that's everything. Sorry, Hug.
Oh, I told you, son. God shared a bunch of social media. I told you. Ronnie, thank you for being a guest in the show tonight, sweetheart. I'm definitely going to contact you. I'm definitely going to contact you once we get off the air and stuff, for other interviews and everything like that. If possible, we'd love to have you as a guest in the show again, so we can really get in depth about, your tour in Japan and everything. So, but thank you so much.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much. Bye, Sign Guy. Have a great night. Bye, Hug.
Bye.
You too.
Sign Guy, Ronnie Nicole, what do you think about her, man?
Fantastic, and hopefully our paths will cross.
Well, we gotta get ready to go, Sign Guy, but what you got going on this week, man?
Busy week this week. Saturday, I will be at the SCW/CPW show in Bremerton, Washington at La Pablonitas. Ring of Honor stars B.J. Whitmer and Kelly Klein and Kevin Sullivan scheduled to appear on Saturday. Sunday, NWA Blue Collar, I will be back there. The 6-man announced for this coming Sunday will be B.J. Whitmer, Bad Blood, and the Tokyo Monster Kahagas, managed by Kevin Sullivan, going against the team of Dave Havoc Hollenbeck, Gregor Petrov, and the brand new Pacific Northwest heavyweight champion, Tommy Celsius. Also on that card, Sunny Days wrestling Kelly Klein.
Well, that sounds like a packed card. This weekend, Saturday, I will be, actually, this is my Atlanta weekend. Saturday, will be AWE in Atlanta wrestling. It will be, I want to say Cape Hook High School, I want to say that's the name of it, for Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment's first and only, probably, PG show. And AWE is definitely not catered towards kids. It's a very adult-themed show and stuff with adult themes and language. But for once in its 2.5-year existence, or 2-year existence, they're actually having a family-friendly PG show Saturday. And then Sunday is AWE at Club Famous, in downtown Atlanta and stuff, man. Back to the good old beer drinking and cursing and stuff, man. So that's what I got this weekend. AWE, both days. It's going to be a blast, man. I think this might be like one of the last chances to actually see some of your favorite independent stars on the indies, before Vince McMahon signs them up. I know exactly who, but I can't say it on the air, but I'll tell you up there if you want to know, Sign Guy. And that's about it. Kev, what we got for the Angry Marks podcast this week?
Well, this Thursday night, we'll have Thursday Night AMP making its weekly return, where we're going to be discussing more of the WWE Cruiserweight Classic, where we're going to be discussing more of the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax tournament. And let me just say, this week it's been a little anticlimactic, so we're going to get a little negative on it, I am sure. If anybody listens for Seth and Mike's Impact Implosion, no show this week, as both gentlemen have some prior engagements they have to engage in. So the week after, it's going to be a double shot, and you're not going to want to miss that, because it's going to be the best of the worst of the best of the worst. And let's see, after you get done listening to this show, if you go on to AngryMarks.com, there should be a new episode of Glove Up or Shut Up there. There's definitely a new episode of the Raw Reaction there. So definitely check out all that and more on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. It's all free. Pro wrestling, mixed martial arts, recaps, reviews, news, whatever. That's why we are the #1 podcast network in the world.
Well, guys, I guess that's the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking in with us once again on Tuesday nights. For the Prophet Rick Craig, for the Bearded Wonder Zane Paisley, for the Heroes and Legends champion Drew Skills, for the greatest producer in podcast history, Killer Kev, for Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee, Sign Guy, I am the incredible Huck, William Huckabee. We'll see you next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. You have a good week. Support indie wrestling. That's that for now.